keep a large catalog of text files, images, links, and other documents relating to a huge range of topics. They're all tucked away in a research section of my PC, waiting for their eventual use in a future video. But over time, I've had this one file grow and grow and grow. The file titled sjwnonsense.txt. This is where I store absurd bits of social justice BS that don't really fit any other topic, but are still funny or stupid. And this file just keeps inflating over time, so fuck it. Every Sunday from now on, I'm going to pull a handful of links from here, and we're going to have a good laugh at them. And this will also give me a fun way to post at least one video a week on SFO, too. So, welcome to the inaugural SJ Weekly. The first link we're looking at is a YouTube video from Fortune Magazine's YouTube channel. 50,000 subscribers, 506 views, published on June 20th, 2018. It just seems weird that I have more of a reach than these guys, you know? But it's called Starbucks is Closing 150 US Stores. Now, didn't I call this in my last video on the Starbucks training? I think I might have right at the end of it. But let's watch this and see what they have to say about it. Ever feel like there's a Starbucks in every corner in the US? Well, you're not that far off the mark. And all of these stores are starting to eat into each other's sales. So Starbucks announced it will be closing 150 US locations in 2019. It will also scale back the number of stores it had planned to open. The company said global comparable store sales were on pace to rise 1% in the third quarter. The comparable sales performance would be Starbucks' weakest in 9 years. Oh no. But the company has a plan to turn its sales problem around. Starbucks is trying to increase the number of people who use its loyalty program and mobile app. Starbucks Rewards members have increased by 13% since last year. It added more cold beverage options to its menu. They make up 50% of its business. And it's ramping up its refreshment category, which includes iced teas and refreshers. Starbucks' stock is down 6% over the last 12 months. I wonder why. Jesus. Maybe this is what happens, Starbucks, when you make a complete fucking mockery of yourselves. Maybe this is what happens when you say, let's just open the doors. I mean, it's just an artificial border anyway, right? Let anybody in. They don't have to be customers. They can go and trash the place if they want. They can go shit on the floor. They can go into the washrooms and shoot up some drugs. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. None of that matters because they have to be welcome and inclusive. And you have to understand their truth and whatever other bullshit they were peddling in that Starbucks training video. Mark my words, guys, this is going to continue. The blowback from the training stuff is only just beginning, and I think Starbucks is kind of on the way out at this point. Either within 5 to 10 years they're going to be gone, or they're going to be a drastically different Starbucks than the one that we currently know. And speaking of things either disappearing or radically changing, here's an article from Newsweek. White people should stop panicking about losing their land in South Africa. I can't fucking believe this, alright? I haven't touched on South Africa yet on the channel. I've been meaning to. I think it's a good topic. I'm just waiting to educate myself a little bit more on it because I don't know the full details. But let's at least take a surface glance at this, okay? Opinion piece. White people in South Africa should stop panicking about losing their land. Why? Really? Think about it for a minute. Okay, fuck off, ad. Stop. Wow, even pausing the ad doesn't stop. I really need to invest in ad block. Why wouldn't you panic about losing your land? Like, if it's land that you lawfully own and you have invested money in and you paid for, and they're just going to take it, well, where's your money going to go? You just lose it? I mean, they're not buying it from you, are they? They're just taking it. Like, that is reason enough. Race issues aside, and I know that South Africa is like a racial landmine right now, but race issues aside, just having somebody take your stuff with no recompense and no way out, that is enough for people to panic about losing their land, yes. But let's see what this idiot has to say about it. Land reform is a key issue in South Africa due to the long history of dispossession of indigenous populations by white settlers. Progress has been painfully slow over the past 24 years, but the question of land is now suddenly at the top of the political agenda. See, this is why I don't trust the native activists in Canada who say that they just want their land back, but they don't want white people to be displaced or to be sent back to Europe or to be removed forcibly from the lands that they currently legally owned. Because I guarantee you, there is nothing different, really, between native people here and native Africans in Africa, or native Australians somewhere, or any population, because we're all human, and there are going to be some commonalities between us, and one of them is going to be shit like this. So, no, I do not trust Canada's native activists, because I guarantee you, if they had the growing power that the black separatists in South Africa have, they would be reacting the exact same way, and it would be a terrible situation here. A major controversy erupted at the end of February following a motion adopted in Parliament, tabled by the Economic Freedom Fighters and modified by the ANC, which started the process of potentially amending the Constitution to allow for the expropriation of white-owned land without compensation and its subsequent redistribution to black people. In March, the main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, sent out phone messages stating, ANC and EFF working together to take all private land and homes. You can only stop this if you're registered correctly to vote. Check now. As a result, white South Africans are panicking that they will lose their land and their homes, and some white commercial farmers believe this is the beginning of Zimbabwe-style land grabs. Australia's Minister of Home Affairs even offered to fast-track visas for white farmers. And to bring up Canada again, it is a great shame that Canada would not fast-track those visas when asked, and in fact, some yahoo in the Canadian government called the white farmers racist for wanting to flee from this shit. In contrast, the motion was supported by many other political parties and has been greeted with approval by large numbers of black people. Given the bitter history of large-scale land dispossession, refusing to pay for stolen land is seen by many black South Africans as essential to restoring their dignity. Now, I don't know if it's a similar situation as in Canada and the United States. In Canada and the United States, the land stolen from the natives, that happened hundreds of years ago. The people who it was stolen from no longer exist. And the people who stole it no longer exist. So the land issue over here, the way things are currently sucks, but it would do far more harm to human beings right now if we started trying to give that land back, especially when people have lawfully owned it now for centuries. And in fact, natives in Canada and the United States are not excluded from land ownership by their race. Now, I don't know if the situation in South Africa is the same, because with South Africa, they had apartheid relatively recently, right? It was 30 years ago or so? So I'm not sure if there are actually instances of people who are still alive who had land stolen from them. And if that's the case, they should probably have it back, yes. But if this is just some kind of blanket reparations along racial lines, it's going to end in disaster. We have an opportunity to pay serious attention to the land question and to convene inclusive processes to develop solutions to this intractable problem. As demonstrated once again, racialized inequalities in land holdings are a ticking time bomb in South Africa. Diffusing it will require courageous leadership and imaginative policymaking. And then, to this guy's credit, he spends the majority of the article talking about the detailed ins and outs of South African parliamentary procedure regarding this land stuff. However, what do you think this guy believes courageous leadership and imaginative policymaking actually entails? Well, we can see that at the end. Are land grabs about to begin? Will the ANC, together with the EFF, amend the Constitution in an attempt to facilitate land grabbing on a large scale? Or will the ruling party, under a new president, begin to address the failings of its land reform program? Time will tell. In my view, the latter is more likely. The challenge is to do so in a manner that addresses the political changes that arise from an unresolved land question, but also contributes to poverty reduction. In the meantime, white South Africans should be offering their energies, and for farmers, some of their land, to help find solutions. This will help secure their future in the country, whereas attempts to defend their privilege could well lead to the loss of everything they own, an important lesson from Zimbabwe in the early 2000s. So let me get this straight. Your opinion here is that in order to deal with a bunch of black people who are showing up and demanding stuff that they don't legally own from white people, the white people should simply give it to them. Give them at least part of the land that they own. Because if they don't, if they defend their privilege meaning the stuff that they legally own, you're going to get Zimbabwe, where the black supremacists roll in and kill or expel all the whites, and then just take everything for themselves, and then destroy it because they have no idea how to run anything. This is quite literally just an argument from power, stating that if you don't do what we want, we are going to take your stuff and kill you. I mean, read this here. Attempts to defend their privilege could well lead to the loss of everything they own. If you defend yourself, you will be destroyed. So you should just simply cuck to them, I guess. That is the progressive solution to South Africa's racial tensions. Unfucking believable. What's the last article? Let me try and find it here. And speaking of apartheid, here's the International Business Times article, When Genocide is Permissible article taken down by the Times of Israel. So on the Times of Israel, this article here was published called When Genocide is Permissible. And here's how the original article read. Hamas has stated forthrightly that it idealizes death as much as Israel celebrates life. What other way, then, is there to deal with the enemy of this nature, other than obliterate them completely? We have already established that it is the responsibility of every government to ensure the safety and security of its people. If political leaders and military experts determine that the only way to achieve its goal of sustaining quiet is through genocide, then is it permissible to achieve those responsible goals? Well, I think that's the wokest take I've ever fucking seen. I mean, wasn't there an old Roman proverb about this, the whole peace of the grave thing, where if everyone's dead, then yeah, you'll have peace, but it doesn't really mean anything anymore, does it? Well, even the Times of Israel recognized that this was a ridiculous article and it was pulled. And in fact, the article's author issued an apology Friday afternoon. He said, "I never intended to call to harm any people, although my words may have conveyed that message." So, calling for righteous genocide, all crusades are just. You never intended to call to harm any people. Really? Do you know what genocide is? I mean, you're Jewish. I presume you must know what genocide is. Do you think it was a walk in the park for your ancestors? Like, what do you think was going to fucking happen when you published this piece of shit? I wish to express deep regret and beg forgiveness for an article I authored which was posted on 5tjt.com, Times of Israel, and was tweeted and shared the world over. I pray and hope for a quick, peaceful end to the hostilities and that all people learn to coexist with each other in creating a better world for us all. This is the kind of mealy-mouthed, wishy-washy nonsense statement that actually says nothing that I would expect someone like this to put out after he's called for genocide publicly and then had the entire internet shit down his throat for it. And here's the best part. Even though the article was taken down, comments about the piece remain. Many Jews were among those slamming the blog post. I just want to apologize for this stupidity. Genocide is never okay and this kid's a dumbass. The fact that it was published was just shameful, and I seriously hope someone got fired. Seriously, just like not all Arabs are Hamas, not all Jews or Zionists are genocide-advocating twerps. It is incredible that a person of the Jewish faith could even consider using the word genocide and questioning whether it is ever permissible. You need to go and take a long, hard look at the history of your people in the 20th century, because you do those alive, or the millions murdered in World War II, an utterly disgraceful disservice with its Nazi-like drivel. And finally, Twitter actually had some decent takes for once. If you have to question whether genocide is permissible to achieve sustaining quiet, you have officially failed at life. Well, that about wraps it up for the first SJ Weekly. Considering that episode 1 talks about permissible genocide, we can really only go up from here, guys. I'm still working on the other videos, the How Cucked Is Canada stuff and other videos. I'm still streaming on Twitch and doing the video game content. None of that stuff is being displaced by SJ Weekly. This is just going to be an easy way for me to get out some funny, goofy shit that is still related to the core content of my channel every Sunday. So thanks for watching, guys. I love you.